I love sporting occasions. I'm really looking forward to next year to the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. There are moments when we can enjoy and marvel at people at the peak of their physical strength with their skills honed to perfection. It's such an incredible experience. Well, when we started this sermon series back in January, we reflected that physical exercise is good for our mental health, that you can actually change your mood, you can lighten your mood by being fit and taking exercise. And we also reflected that actually mental exercise, when we stretch our minds, is good for us anyway. It can, for example, it said it can stave off dementia for some time. So physical health and spiritual and mental health are interrelated and both important for our well-being. So if I go out in the morning and do a stiff walk and then I come back and do the crossword in the newspaper, I don't think of that as self-indulgent time of recreation. I think of it as time well spent. It's time invested in my well-being. Yet, you know, despite all this has been the Olympic Games when we've heard so many elite athletes saying with brutal honesty the challenges they're facing with their mental health. So clearly it can't be everything. Physical and mental health isn't the total picture. And we also, I think, reflected last time at the beginning of this series that actually there was a third dimension to this picture. It's physical exercise, it's mental exercise, and it's spiritual exercise. And in a sense, that's what we've been talking about through the whole of this year. We've been talking about spiritual exercise. Some of you might remember we, a couple of years ago or so, did a house group study, many of the house groups, called Soul Keeping by John Ortberg. And my rather simplified memory of that study was that he likened the soul to a great big plug, and it was a plug that was attached to us, and it was longing to be plugged into something else, longing to be plugged in to create relationships. And the trick was looking after our soul was about plugging it into God rather than plugging it into rather less attractive thoughts. Well, all the things we've been thinking about this year, and let me remind you, making time to listen to God, praying without ceasing, finding a spiritual pattern or rhythm, reading the Bible, enjoying being part of a small group, and spending time in holy space. These are all things we do for spiritual exercise. They're things we do to plug that great plug of our soul into God in an unambiguous way. So I suggest that if time spent doing the crossword and walking is time well spent, well, how much better is time well spent if we are reading the Bible, being part of our small groups and praying, for example. You know, it's well understood that if we are hurt or troubled or anxious, it has the potential to affect our overall health. I remember from my working life how important it was to recognize the stress symptoms in my team, in my colleagues. At some point, they would each have their own unique physiological symptom which came about when they were under the most pressure. And it was really important to know those. They were like really important early warning signs, and actually even more important to know those kind of early warning signs in our own case too. And if you ignore those early warnings, and if you allow those little resentments and difficulties to turn into something much more raw and hurtful deep inside, that's the point when our bodily health begins to break down. It's when the body can't really cope. And we have this wonderful way of dealing with this as Christians, that we can hand our problems over to God. They may be much too big for us, but they're never too big for God. And we can sometimes dissolve those hurts, perhaps through forgiveness. It's not easy, it's a really difficult journey, but it's a way of dissolving those hurts. Or even sometimes, you know, when something I find really hurtful, I have to ask myself the question, what's the raw nerve inside me that is touching, that it hurts so much? And sometimes through contemplative prayer, I've been able to let go of what it is. In my case, it has a label on it. That raw nerve is called pride. And when something touches my pride, it's hurtful. Actually, if I can let go of the pride, actually I can insulate myself from being hurt, and I can do amazing things for my health and my well-being. No wonder that Jesus said to us, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind. The picture couldn't be more clear, could it? It's about body, mind and spirit, and each one needs exercise, and each one benefits the other one, and the totality of it is a wonderful, a glorious piece of human wholeness. I was thinking about a hymn for this short reflection, and rather than trying to find a hymn with the appropriate words, which was quite difficult, I suddenly thought how much better it would be if I could find a hymn that reflected a piece of spiritual exercise. And you know, many sportsmen and sportswomen do something to commit what they're doing to God at the start of their sporting events. You often see footballers running onto the field making the sign of the cross as they come into the pitch. And I saw a cricketer the other day walk onto the pitch. He was coming out to bat. He knelt for a few moments on both knees, stood up and carried on. You know, it was obvious here was somebody who was simply praying before they walked out to do the important thing they were doing. And I think they're praying not, "Dear Lord, please can I win?" It isn't like that. They're saying, "Dear Lord, through my physical preparation, through my mental preparation, and as I hand this over to you, Lord, let me be the best person I can possibly be in this moment." And that's what they're praying for. And I remembered a wonderful clip of film I just want to share with you now. This is the Fijian Rugby Sevens team, formidable team. And they pray before and after every match, and they sing before and after every match. And I leave it with you. This is them singing before one of their matches. Great piece of witness, but a great piece of spiritual exercise. These are men at the peak of their physical fitness, totally mentally prepared for the rugby match that's about to happen. But here they are doing the final step in that preparation, in committing it to God. And you may find it difficult to understand the words, but you'll hear eventually those resonant words, the international words, hallelujah, and you'll hear them singing through. So enjoy this glorious example and take inspiration for all of us, for our spiritual fitness, our spiritual exercise as part of that total package of wholeness and well-being.
Ratolus.